This happened to me a few weeks ago, and I'm still kind of freaked out by it. I do food delivery for one of the apps, picking up orders from restaurants and dropping them off at people's houses. It's an okay gig. The money isn't great, but the hours are flexible. Anyway, I got this order around 8 p.m. to pick up from a burger place and deliver to a house on the other side of town. It wasn't too far, maybe a 15 to 20 minute drive. I got to the burger place, picked up the food, and put the address into my GPS. It was taking me into one of the newer housing developments on the outskirts of the city, one of those areas where all the houses look brand new. I pulled up to the address, and it was a decent-sized 2-story house at the end of a cul-de-sac. Lots of lights were on inside, which is good, because I hate when people order food and don't have any exterior lights on. It makes it hard to find the place at night. There were no cars in the driveway or on the street, but I figured they were probably just all parked in the garage. I grabbed the food and headed up to the front door, ringing the doorbell. After a minute of no answer, I rang it again. Still nothing. I was about to knock when I heard some muffled thumping sounds coming from inside. Okay, cool, I thought. Somebody's coming to the door. The thumping got a little louder, like somebody was stomping around inside toward the entryway. Then this blood-curdling scream suddenly ripped up through the door, a woman screaming at the top of her lungs like she was being murdered. I damn near dropped the food right there. My heart was pounding out of my chest. The screaming didn't stop, it just went on in this horrific wail. My first thought was that I needed to get out of there. Every instinct was telling me to just book it back to my car and drive away as fast as possible. But then I thought, what if somebody really does need help there? What if some lunatic is attacking or killing someone? I shouldn't just run away. I should call the cops at least. So, I'm standing there frozen on the doorstep, completely paralyzed, looking around for somewhere to take cover in case a window busts open or a door flies open and whatever's going on inside comes pouring out. But the screaming just kept going on in this continuous loop, never stopping for a breath and never breaking. Just this insane primal shriek. That's when I started noticing something off about it. It almost sounded artificial, or like it was being played through a speaker. There was no variation, no gasping for air in between. Just this robotic, endless wail. That's also when I realized there were no other sounds. No furniture being knocked over, no human-sounding grunts of struggle, nothing. At this point, the screaming was still just as loud and steady as when it started. It was pretty clear that either this screaming woman was a robot, or this whole thing was some kind of weird recording or prank being played through the house's surround sound system or something. I figured the only way I was going to find out what the heck was going on was to try knocking on the door instead of just ringing the bell. So I set the food down, took a couple of steps back for safety, then pounded as hard as I could on the front door, yelling, "Hello, can anybody hear me?" As soon as I did that, the screaming cut off like somebody flipped a switch. Dead silence. I stood there for a few seconds, utterly confused. Then, from somewhere inside, I heard a dude's voice, kind of low and monotone, say, "Oh, sorry man, let me get that for you." More weird, artificial-sounding thumping noises, like footstep sound effects, and then the door swung open. This scrawny guy was standing there, early 20s, wearing a greasy bathrobe and slippers. He took one look at me, frozen in fear on his porch, and burst out laughing, this really unsettling, wheezing cackle. "Oh man, did my little sound system get you good?" He chuckled again, then proceeded to grab the food from me without another word, not even a thank you, and shut the door in my face. I still don't even know what to make of the whole thing. Was it an audio prank? Some kind of disturbing sound experiment? I thought about calling the cops to check on the guy, but he seemed lucid enough, and I was so eager to get out of there, I didn't even consider it at the time. I just hopped in my car and peeled out as fast as I could. Looking back, the whole thing was equal parts terrifying and deeply, deeply unsettling. The newfound realization of how easily a person could use sound effects to make you think somebody was being assaulted or murdered was bad enough. But something about the way that guy answered the door, that dead-eyed look and weird maniacal cackle when he saw I was shaken up, it's haunted me ever since. I never delivered to that house again, and I sure as hell never will. It's a good reminder of all the freaks and weirdos that are out there, I guess. People with some serious issues that you never want to cross paths with. Maybe I'm just being paranoid, but I can't help but feel I narrowly avoided getting mixed up with one of those disturbed individuals. And for that, I'm grateful. Before we move on to the next story, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever experienced something similar? If so, please share your experience in the comments section. I read all your comments and try to reply to everyone. Additionally, I will feature some of your experiences in my next videos. It was a Saturday night, and all I wanted to do was watch TV by myself in our cabin. It was a small cabin in the countryside, so there were no houses nearby. On the other hand, my parents were out on a date and wouldn't be back until midnight. Since all the roads were jammed because of the snowstorm, it wasn't smart to order pizza, but I did it anyway about an hour ago. So when I started thinking about why it was taking so long, I remembered it was probably because of the icy roads. Then I realized I might not get the pizza at all. I sat on the couch and chose to watch a scary movie. I was alone in the cabin. About 5 minutes into the movie, I got scared by a sudden sound at the doorbell. I thought it might be the pizza delivery person, so I went to the front door. But when I opened it, I was surprised by what I saw. It was a dirty and scruffy man, maybe in his 40s. He seemed like he might be homeless, like he'd been living rough for a while. His hair was long and oily, and he needed to shave badly. The only reason I didn't close the door right away was because he had a pizza box and was wearing a Domino's pizza uniform, although it looked like he put it on in a hurry. The buttons on his uniform were all over the place, and it seemed too small for him. The name tag on his shirt said Michael Smith, but it looked like it was barely hanging on. He had a big grin on his face, staring right at me without blinking once. His smile made me feel really nervous. "Hi, I'm Ted. Did you order a big cheese pizza?" He still had that strange smile on his face. I reached into my pocket, trying to find the cash I had, but I couldn't find it. Then I remembered I must have left the money on the kitchen counter. Before I went to the kitchen, I didn't close the front door properly. In the kitchen, I grabbed my wallet and started looking for the $20 bill I had. But then something stopped me. We had a small TV that always showed the news, and there was some text scrolling at the bottom of the screen. When I read it, my heart skipped a beat. Newsflash: Domino's delivery driver found unconscious in a ditch, his clothes ripped off. I suddenly remembered the man at my door had a name tag saying Michael Smith, but he told me his name was Ted. His clothes looked like they didn't fit right. It gave me shivers as I connected the dots. I turned around and practically sprinted to the front door. As expected, it was wide open, and the pizza box was on the floor by the stairs. My heart raced as I realized something was wrong. I reached for my phone, but my pocket was empty. Panic set in when I remembered I'd left it charging on my nightstand. I thought about what I could do. I couldn't just run out into the snowstorm and go to the nearest house a mile away. I couldn't hide and wait for my parents to come back. That could take hours. The only thing left was to go upstairs, get my phone, and call 911. My knees and hands were shaking as I crept up the stairs, trying not to make any noise. When I reached the last step, I could see my room. The door was open. I started getting ready in my mind for whatever might happen when I walked into that room. I walked quietly to the side of the door, making sure nobody could see me from inside. Then, I peeked my head into the room. There was nothing there. Actually, the room looked exactly how I left it. Then, I spotted my phone on the nightstand across from my bed, right next to the closet. I walked in slowly and reached over my bed. I was almost there, just a few inches from grabbing my phone and calling the police. I moved forward cautiously, ready for anything to happen. When I finally got hold of my phone, I took a big breath of relief and dialed 911. In no time, I heard the 911 operator's voice. Soon, the lady on the line said, "911, what's your emergency?" "Hi, my name's Matthew, and there's someone in my house," I said quickly. I've watched lots of Law and Order, so I thought I knew how to make them send help quickly. The operator told me to stay on the line. Then something grabbed my attention. My closet. I always kept it shut because I was scared of the dark inside, and I hated not knowing what might be in there, but until now there had never been anything in there. The closet door was creeping open, just enough for me to see two eyes staring back at me, but the scariest part wasn't the eyes. What still haunts me to this day is the huge smile he had on his face. I screamed. There he was, the man who claimed to be Ted from the front door. I ran faster than I ever had in my life. I dashed out of my room into the hallway, but I could always hear footsteps just a few feet behind me. I looked back and saw the man chasing me, still smiling. I rushed into the downstairs bathroom and locked the door. But his laugh wasn't what I expected. It wasn't deep and rough like I imagined. He started banging his body against the door, trying to get in. Every time I heard him hitting the door, his childish laugh followed. I knew I didn't have much time before the door would give in, but I also knew it would be a while before the police got here. My eyes scanned the bathroom. It was unfamiliar to me because I usually use the upstairs one. As soon as I saw the bathroom window, which I'd never noticed before, I knew what to do. After a few seconds of struggling, I managed to get outside. The cold snow felt refreshing on my feet, especially since I'd been sweating a lot. I tried to stand up and run, but the storm was too powerful. It was tough to move even a few steps away from the cabin. I could still hear the man banging on the door and laughing like a maniac. He was getting closer to breaking in. Just a couple more tries, and he'd be inside. I knew he'd see the open window and realize I was outside. I could hear his footsteps moving away, and I knew he had figured it out. I kept looking back and forth, then I spotted him. His head was poking over the side of the house, revealing that creepy smile. I screamed in fear once more as the man, still in that too-tight Domino's uniform, started tiptoeing toward me. This really scared me, making me realize how crazy the man truly was. Just then, I heard a wonderful sound. Police sirens. It was the perfect time for the police to arrive. When the man heard the sirens, he glanced at me one last time and managed to smile even wider. He waved goodbye, then dashed off into the woods. When the cops finally arrived in the driveway, I ran to them, crying with relief and disbelief about what had happened. I tried to tell them the story, but I could only manage to say a few sentences that hardly made any sense. After they helped me calm down, I told them everything that happened. 2 more police officers arrived and started looking in the nearby woods. It was nearly completely dark by then. I didn't sleep at all for the next several nights. I couldn't stop thinking about his smile. Even long after that, my home didn't feel safe anymore. But I'm relieved to say that since then, there haven't been any strange knocks at the door or anything like that. It's been quiet and I haven't seen that man again. If you find these stories chilling, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more gripping tales. Share your story in the comments below. I love to hear your experiences. Stay safe, and thanks for watching.